In 1988, Akira exploded onto the scene and ushered in a new wave of anime. It was unlike anything audiences had seen before, breathtakingly animated, fusing traditional cell work with map backdrops and even touches of early CGI. Neo Tokyo felt alive in a way that live action could only dream of, though, to be fair, Blade Runner had already laid some groundwork, and Ghost in the Shell would later refine it. No, not the 27 version, the real version.
Perfection.
I once told a friend while studying at university, before Blade Runner and Alien, sci-fi was clean, sleek, almost fairy tale in its optimism. Blade Runner flipped that on its head, giving us a future that was both dystopian and utopian at the same time. Everything after chased that look, but nothing ever quite matched it. And that's my point. Just as Blade Runner redefined science fiction, Akira redefined anime. But while Akira set the standard, it also cast a long shadow. How do you follow up a film that reshaped the landscape of anime worldwide? For Katsuhiro Otomo, the answer came years later with Steamboy. Now on paper, it couldn't be more different. Instead of a neon-soaked dystopian future, we're transported to a foggy, steam-powered past. Gone are the motorcycle gangs and psychic explosions, and in their place, brass machinery, clanking gears, and Victorian skylines. Yet the DNA is unmistakably Otomo's. Obsessed with technology, fascinated by human ambition, and always asking what happens when progress outpaces control. So if Akira was a warning about the future, Steamboy feels like a cautionary tale rooted in the past. So here's the deal. In this video, we're diving headfirst into Steamboy. We'll talk about the long, messy road it took to make, how Otomo tried to step out of Akira's giant psychic shadow, and why this movie is equal parts technical marvel and weird little historical footnote. Think of it as the sibling who studied abroad in Victorian England while Akira was busy blowing up Tokyo. By the end, we'll see how Steamboy isn't just Otomo's other film, but a fascinating look at how anime evolved into the 2000s. So grab your goggles, mind the steam valves, and let's crank this thing up. Before we move on, if you like video essays and are drawn to this one, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel where I will be doing many more deep dives into film and, well, anything really. Akira set the standard not just for anime, but for animation as a whole. It proved once and for all that all animated films weren't just cartoons for kids. They could be bold, cinematic experiences that pulled in entirely new audiences. And Akira did it with style to spare. Blistering action, unflinching violence, and body horror so grotesque it would even make David Cronenberg wince. But once Akira had changed the landscape, its creator and director, Katsuhiro Otomo, was left with a question. What now? In the years that followed, he dabbled in other ambitious projects. He oversaw Memories from '95, an anthology of striking shorts. He contributed to Spriggan in '98, an overlooked gem of 90s action anime. And he was also involved in the lavish adaptation of Osamu Tezuka's Metropolis in 2001. Itself inspired by Fritz Lang's silent classic, which has been endlessly parodied and even honoured in Queen's Radio Gaga music video. But behind the scenes, while audiences were wondering if Otomo would ever top Akira, he was quietly building his next big gamble, his long-awaited follow-up, Steamboy. By the early 1990s, Otomo had already cemented his place in anime history, but the follow-up to Akira wasn't going to be easy. Partly because Otomo wasn't aiming small. He wanted to make the most ambitious anime ever produced, something that would push the boundaries of the medium, just as Akira had done once before. The project was Steamboy. First announced in '94, the film quickly became known as Otomo's Phantom Project. It was hyped as the most expensive anime ever made, with reports putting its budget at around $20 million, a staggering figure at that time. especially for Japanese animation. The project ballooned into a 10-year marathon, with Sunrise, the powerhouse studio behind Mobile Suit Gundam, handling the bulk of the animation production. But Sunrise wasn't just drawing giant robots anymore. Under Otomo's direction, they were tasked with creating an unprecedented level of mechanical detail. Steamboy required over 180,000 individual hand-drawn frames, many of them dedicated to the intricate moving parts of Victorian-era machines. Every gear, every piston, every steam valve had to move believably. It wasn't just animation, it was engineering on paper. And that obsession slowed everything down. Otomo was notorious for revising designs endlessly, demanding realism and precision in ways that pushed animators to their limits. Combined with the new integration of digital effects, still a developing tool in the 90s, the production became kind of technological tug-of-war between traditional cel artistry and cutting-edge computer assistance. Meanwhile, outside Otomo's workshop, the anime world was moving at full speed. Neon Genesis Evangelion had exploded onto Japanese television, changing anime storytelling forever. Internationally, Akira was still drawing new fans, while Ghost in the Shell was cementing anime as a serious, adult-oriented medium. By the time Steamboy finally premiered in 2004, anime had gone global, and Otomo's longest-stating dream was stepping into an industry that looked nothing like the one that had birthed Akira. So what began in '94 as the next big thing ended up becoming something stranger. A passion project caught between eras, painstakingly built by one of anime's most meticulous directors, and powered by the full might of Sunrise. So after 10 years in production hell, what did we actually get with Steamboy? At its core, the film is a classic adventure story, drenched in gears and steam. Set in 19th century England, it follows Ray Steam, a young inventor who stumbles across a mysterious steam ball from his grandfather, a power source that could revolutionize the world or destroy it. As rival factions fight to control the invention, Ray is caught between his pacifist father, his more ruthless grandfather, and a city on the brink of technological chaos. It's less about psychic teenagers blowing up Tokyo, and more about fathers, sons, and the price of progress, with a lot of brass pipes and fog in between. The film's setting in mid-1800s London is a perfect choice. Britain was at the height of the Industrial Revolution, a time when science and progress seemed unstoppable, with man and machine working hand in hand to reshape the world. But Steamboy doesn't just celebrate invention, it also questions it. The film juxtaposes the promise of technology as a tool for progress with its darker role as a weapon of war. Nowhere is this more clearer than in the backdrop of the Great Exhibition, an event meant to showcase humanity's achievements, but twisted here into a stage for conflict. For the international release, Sony went all in on the English dub, hiring a surprisingly star-studded cast for the time. Anna Paquin, hot off X-Men and later True Blood, voiced Ray Steam. Alfred Molina gave weight and menace to Dr. Edward Steam. And Patrick Stewart, the voice of Calm Authority himself, played Dr. Lloyd Steam. For an anime dub in the early 2000s, this was almost unheard of. Besides Studio Ghibli, sometimes they get a few people in. But it was designed to make Steamboy feel like a legitimate theatrical event, not just another cartoon. And then there's the music. Oh my actual god, this soundtrack is an absolute banger. Instead of turning to a Japanese composer, Otomo tapped Hollywood's Steve Jablonsky, who would later go on to score Michael Bay's Transformers films. Jablonsky delivered a sweeping, bombastic soundtrack that felt more like a summer blockbuster than a traditional anime score. Compared to Akira's haunting, experimental score, Steamboy's music is safer, more familiar, but also gives the film a sense of scale and spectacle. I always go back to listen to the track Collapse and Rescue, as it has the usual Jablonski flair which we would hear in his works later on. Together, the story, the cast, and the music positioned Steamboy as more than just an anime film. On paper, it had the ingredients to succeed as a global cinematic event. Now I want to step out of facts and give you my own take. I love Steamboy, and honestly I think it deserves way more love than it gets. Sure, it's not Akira, it was never going to be Akira, but that's part of what makes it special. Where Akira was loud, apocalyptic, and defined by neo-futurism, Steamboy is quieter, more reflective, and rooted in a historical setting that you don't often see in anime. There's a sense of wonder in its machinery, a beauty in its design, and a sincerity in its message about the double-edged sword of progress. Yes, it's flawed. Yes, the pacing can be clunky, and the story can feel stretched. But beneath that, there's ambition, craft, and heart. To me, Steamboy is one of those films that reminds us why anime, and animation as a whole, is such a powerful medium. It dares to dream big, even if it doesn't land perfectly. For me, the strongest point of this film is just that it's an absolute joy to look at. The sheer level of detail, even in the smallest elements, shows true craftsmanship. Usually, when CGI and traditional animation collide, the results can often feel jarring. I'm looking at you, Berserk. But in Steamboy, the CG elements blend seamlessly with the hand-drawn animation, enhancing rather than distracting. And here's the kicker, this film is over 20 years old, yet it still looks incredible. Honestly, Otomo could release Steamboy today, and it would hold up visually just as well as it did back then. I mean, just look at some of the set pieces. The early chase scene, with Ray zipping through the country streets on his steam-powered monowheel. It's pure kinetic energy, a sequence that instantly sells the world's blend of history and imagination. Later, the reveal of the massive moving steam castle fortress is a jaw-dropper, a Frankenstein's monster of gears and steel that feels both awe-inspiring and terrifying. These moments aren't just eye candy, they're proof of the film's ambition and why it remains such a unique visual experience. So that's Steamboy, a film that may never have escaped the shadow of Akira, but still stands as one of the most ambitious anime projects ever attempted. It's bold, it's beautiful, and it's a reminder of just how far animation can go when it dares to dream big. Nowadays we get anime that just literally look as good as Steamboy, but you know. Akira may have lit the fuse, but Steamboy kept the engine running. If you've enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more video essays on anime, as well as film history, and let me know in the comments, do you think Steamboy deserves more love, or is it destined to always be Otomo's other film? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.